Hey, you guys. Welcome to episode 2 of our podcast, Stardust and Sweatpants. Today, the highlight is going to be on Hellenistic astrology. So my name is Jordan, and I'm a psychic medium. I am here with my co-host, Stephanie, who is our Hellenistic astrologer. So she's going to be in the hot seat today, y'all. We are also here with Seven, who is an incredible intuitive tarot reader. Some things to know during the live. At some point, we are going to be taking live calls. We have our phone number ticking either right here below us or right here above us, depending on where you're watching us from. Please do not call in until I tell y'all, okay, get ready, set, go. Because my phone's going to be ringing the entire time throughout the entire podcast. If you guys go ahead and call in now, you can go ahead and text us, and you can go ahead and put your questions in the comments whenever something comes up that you specifically want to ask Stephanie. So anything astrology related, because she's in the hot seat today, you guys. Hopefully by the time we end this out, you guys will have a pretty good idea of what Hellenistic astrology is, how to find information for yourselves, the do's and don'ts with astrology, the best websites to go to, the best apps to use. We're going to cover it all. So that being said, I'm going to pass the mic to Seven, and she is going to kickstart us off by opening the floor to asking the first question to Stephanie.
Hello. All right. Well, I've got some written down. So you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm feeling the hot seat today.
All right. When reading a natal chart for a client, what are the first few things you look at through a Hellenistic lens?
Always the rising. In specific Hellenistic astrology, the first house is called the helm. So imagine like you're on a big ship, like a pirate ship. Who's steering the boat, right? Who's at the helm? Who's in charge? That sets the tone for pretty much everything else in the chart is the rising sign, the first house. Who's running the ship? And then the sun and the moon, of course, the big three. And then one of the things that me specifically, not just Hellenistic astrologers, but me specifically look at, the things that stand out the most are what planets are well placed and which ones are not. And I cannot help but have like the trauma and the mental health aspects of the chart jump out at me. Oh, yeah. It's not specifically a Hellenistic practice. It's just how I work. But modern astrologers, I don't know too many. I don't know how much of an emphasis that they put on the first house. But for me, it all starts and ends there. Who's in charge? Who's running the show? So, and then whether or not they have a day or night chart. A day or night chart means that if you have the sun up at the top of your chart, then you have a solar chart. If the sun is at the top of a chart, the sun is like helping steer the boat. The bottom of your chart is the lunar part of your chart. If your moon is down there, the moon is very well placed. But if you have the sun in the bottom of your chart, your moon automatically is in charge. So are we emotionally steering? Are we ego steering? So emotional steering would be with the moon. Ego steering would be with the sun. It all kind of creates this revolution, but it always starts with the rising sign. So those are kind of the first things that jump out to me during people's readings and when I get a first look at their chart.
Gotcha. So, that's really interesting.
In Hellenistic astrology, is the personality house different than maybe like Vedic or, I don't know, newer astrology? What would the personality, when you look at a chart, what are you looking for to know what someone's like personality is? Because I always thought it was like your rising sign.
So the rising sign, the moon sign, and the sun sign are kind of the first important pieces of the building of the personality, but you have to really just at a glance be able to see the full chart. If you have a complicated and a little bit of astrology science, but let's say you're a Libra sun, okay? Mm-hmm. The sun is in its fall in Libra, which means it's not as strong, which is why, because the sun is like independence. This is why Libra is the sign of the other. It's more about the other than it is of the self. So if it's in its fall, well, let's look at the moon. Let's say the moon is in Taurus. So it's exalted in Taurus. It works beautifully in Taurus. You're going to have a stronger still Venusian, because Libra and Taurus are still both ruled by Venus. But you're going to have a stronger moon in Taurus expression than a Libra sun expression, specifically because of those energies. If you have a Gemini or a Virgo rising, those are going to be super strong and play a huge part in the building of the personality, because the first house is ruled by Mercury in Hellenistic astrology. Also, Mercury retrogrades will absolutely destroy you. So the second thing I'm going to look at is how well placed is your Mercury. So, and then stelliums. Stelliums are a big one because they take several different planets, so 3 or more, to make a stellium and concentrate it in one zodiac sign. If you have a stellium in your chart, that is going to be very, very, very prominent personality energy, maybe even stronger than the sun, moon, and sometimes the rising. So if you have, for instance, I have a Sagittarius stellium, but my sun and my moon are there too. So I am very much a textbook Sagittarius, where like Jordan has a lot in Capricorn. So she is not a textbook Libra, even though she is a Libra sun and a Libra rising.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to look at kind of those things first, the big 3, but then is there competition for the big 3? Is there a stellium? And in what house is it in? So you have the angular houses, which are the super powerful houses, which is 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th. Sometimes if your stellium is in the 4th house in Capricorn, your, Libra rising is not going to be as strong. Very present. It is going to have an effect on the character, the physical appearance, maybe even sometimes how like the body works, like what are the hot triggers? Because, all of the zodiac signs are all parts of the body. But when it comes to the expression of the personality, it's going to be those stelliums, especially in the 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th house, that are going to stand stronger than the others.
Yeah, because usually I was curious for myself, because when I just come out and go, I'm a Libra, and not only do I say I'm a Libra, I say I'm a double Libra, people are like, are you sure? It never makes sense. And then, as I said on our first episode, when I go and I'm looking at like the breakdowns for like Libra this week or whatever, I never match with Libra. I always match with Capricorn.
Yeah, that's your 4th house is the closest house to you. It is the most personal your chart gets, like to your inner world. It's your inner world, so far inner that it's where you came from. So that is very close to you. And it's also sometimes what you keep hidden from the rest of the world, depending, like if it's a Scorpio 4th house. You may keep that inner world very, very secret. You may be keeping lots of secrets about where you're come from, even if it's not bad.
Yeah.
Your upbringing and things like that, where for you, one of the foundations that you stand on is hard work and discipline.
Because of the Capricorn being in the 4th house?
Because of the Capricorn being in the 4th house.
Oh, this is a good question. Ashley Crowley says, I'm new to this. Is an astrologist the person who would give you your chart and explain it?
Yes. You need to have certain information. You need to know what month, day, time, and location you were born in, and of course the year. So the time is important for the rising. It sets the whole chart up. If you're a couple of minutes off, fine. If you're like, well, I know it was sometime during the day, look at your birth chart. If your birth chart doesn't say, more than likely it's a copy. Call in, have them give you the original copy with your birth time on it. It's probably one of the most important pieces of information. I can still get a lot out of a chart with just date and location, but it's not going to be nearly as accurate as that time. But yeah, you give the astrologer your information, they plug it in, and then your chart comes up, and your natal analysis is the building blocks of you. And then on a more horary take, which is like how they come up with horoscopes, you, which is your natal chart, versus where everything is now. Things you're going to be going through based on the natal and where everything is now.
So follow-up question on that. Somebody who's like brand new to all of this, has no knowledge of anything to do with astrology, planets, zodiacs, anything. What can they expect 100% in booking a reading with you?
I'm not mean, but I don't cut cut corners. Sorry, everyone. Mercury is in Sagittarius right now. We're not talking good. It's just what it is. And I will be very, very distracted today. So will Seven. Just welcome to that Sagittarius energy. Mercury is in its detriment in Sagittarius. It does not know how to behave. So if you're like, I cannot focus, neither can everybody else.
So if somebody books with you, would they expect like you to touch on health stuff or you to touch on like their career? Would you touch on marriage? Are there
Everything.
like, so literally anything and everything about their whole entire life can come up. It just has to do with where the planets are right now for them.
Yeah. And they'll be like hot seats. So you have in your natal chart, like you're set up for like any illnesses or injuries you have or have sustained in the past in your 6th house. Your mental health will be tied to the 12th house and a little bit of the 8th house. Your marriages and relationships and your like business partnerships will be tied to the 7th house. So those are all things that are your building blocks. But if you have like right now, everything is in Sagittarius and you have a very prominent Venus in Sagittarius, or you're a Sagittarius in and of itself. That's your sun sign. And it's a prominent house. So 1st, 4th, 10th, 11th, like 10th, these things could be very, very, very heavy right now because we're involving the inner planets. So the sun, Mercury, Mars, and Venus, they're all just doing their thing in Sagittarius. So wherever Sagittarius is in your chart, a lot of those things and a lot of those topics are coming up right now. So that will kind of be one of the first things we talk about. Like, this is how you are in your chart, but this is where the heavy load is right now, is the house that is ruled by Sagittarius in your chart.
Gotcha. And I will tell you guys too, I know she said like, I'll just tell you whatever, but I had a personal reading with her before she and I ever went on this adventure together. And she and I have a similar reading style, only in this. When you sit down and you're reading with her, she will tell you point blank, period. Heavy things are going to come up. I can already see them in your chart. If at any point you're uncomfortable or you don't want to talk about it, we can just move on to the next thing. This isn't for me, it's for you. I'll tell you everything you want to know, and we won't talk about anything you don't want to know, but she'll at least bring it up and tell you that these things are a part of you, your personality, your chart, you know, issues that are going to come up for you, your career and where it's going to go, major dates for you that are going to come up. So it's important that you know that, like, even though it may be really heavy and you may need a little while to process it, she's not going to do anything to intentionally ever make you feel uncomfortable. She is an incredible reader, and she wouldn't be sitting up here with me if she wasn't.
I don't, this is how I approach it. If I see something destroying or traumatic, I'll ask, like I'll say, so I'm picking up something in the relationship area. And what I'm seeing could be uncomfortable. Are you okay with talking to me about your past relationships or a rough business partnership that you've had in the past? It would be the same thing with, like, if something happened with you with your public image or health, especially health, because now we're talking about things that, like, if I was a doctor, we'd be under HIPAA violation at this point. Like, I will say that I'm seeing something and ask you if you're comfortable talking about it with me first. But just know that with my delivery system, if you say yes, I'm going to say exactly what I see. So understand that it's, a lot of people are like, this is going to be so fun. Like, you know, it's that, oh my God, what was the fortune thing where you put in your quarter and the guy reads your fortune in a cards. What was his name? It started with like a Z.
I don't know, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he looks like a big like wizard and whatever. Yeah. And then you put in the money, and then this isn't like I'm not a fortune cookie.
No.
It's very real. It's very raw. And I'm very honest, supportive, but honest, and judgment-free zone. But we're going to talk about it.
Yep.
A lot of people I don't think they understand exactly what can come out about you in your chart, but your blueprints of you are in your chart.
Zoltan, yes.
Zoltan, yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Did that just come to you, or did you look it up?
Ashley.
Somebody's
comments right here.
Got you. Yeah, I just saw that.
Like, even for mine, one of the very first things that when I was in my reading with Stephanie, when we sat down and she said, hey, there's some heavy, highlight on your physical and mental health. Are those things you're willing to talk to me about? I was like, girl, tell me everything in every shade that it comes out in. I want to know everything about myself when I leave this reading, and you're never going to hurt my feelings. That's how I am, though. Somebody else may know that maybe they're struggling with something with their mental health and not want to go there, not want to touch on that subject. Maybe you just specifically came here because you want to know if there's anything you can improve in your work world, in business for you. You can tell her those things too. Just because it's there doesn't mean it has to be the highlight of your whole reading. I want to know everything.
Specifically, if there's something, I like to recommend that when people book with me for the very first time, especially if it's their very first reading, that there's a reading option on the website called the Astrological Wheel. It is an overview of every aspect of your life. It is like first house, the second house, like we go through all of it. And then I pull cards on all of it too. So it's a birth chart analysis plus an oracle card reading, but it covers every aspect of you. But specifically, if you've had other ones done before, or if you just want to know specifics, just put in there, I want a career chart. I would like to look at where my career's going. I would like to look at where my relationships are going. I would like to do all kinds of, creative things. I need to know what's going on with my creativity. I'm buying a house. I'd like to know if this is good timing for that. So you can be very, very specific in the reading on exactly what you want to look at. And if you're like, I would only like to discuss that, that's all we will discuss.
Okay. So you said a website. What's the website that they can go to book with you?
AscendingShadows.com.
And we do have that in the ticker, you guys. It's either below us or right above us. You'll see a red banner on the screen, and it has words in it. Also, her Venmo is there. It is her birthday weekend. So she is here spending her birthday with us, you guys, and sharing all things astrology with us. So if you guys want to send her a virtual birthday gift via her Venmo, please do. We're here to support her. We're here to showcase her, and we're here to put her in the hot seat too.
Feeling it.
Something that you said in the beginning, and you said that you would be paying attention to badly placed houses. What would you be like, oh shit, if you saw that in somebody's chart?
And would you say, oh shit, when you read them? Would you be like, oh God,
If I don't say it out loud, it's on my face. My face is it's subtitles. It is the ticker running across the screen. That even if I'm taking a moment so I can say things that won't be as such of a blow, my face says everything that my mouth doesn't. But if you have, so all of the luminaries, so the sun and the moon and all of the planets have domiciles, so places they're at home in. Mm-hmm. Where they're in their fall and when they're in their detriment and when they're in their exaltation. So domicile, home, totally. I live here. This is great. Give me my blanket. Give me my socks. I'm putting in my Netflix. I'm home. Then we have exaltation. Okay, I'm in somebody else's house, but I vibe with this house. And then fall and detriment. This energy feels bad. I can't communicate with the hosts in this house. I don't even want to be here. So that energy can be very off. Mm. So if we take just the sun is in its domicile in Leo. It is exalted in Aries. It is in its fall in Libra and in its detriment in Aquarius. So already, if you're a Libra or an Aquarius, the sun is not as strongly placed there as it is in other zodiac signs, and especially not if it's in Leo and Aries. The moon would be the same thing. Like if I look at your moon and the moon is at its home in Cancer, it is exalted in Taurus, it is in its detriment in Capricorn, and you have a Capricorn moon. Well, emotions cannot be your thing. So those are the things that stand out to me the most. Like, where are the strongest planets? So say a moon in Cancer, and where are the ones that are not strong, like a moon in Capricorn.
Gotcha.
So those stand out a lot because that's like, okay, so this is a challenge. This is where we need to work at, either with our ego, if we're involving the sun, or like emotions with the moon, if it's Mercury, communication styles, because that's how you like move through the world, right? The information you take in and the information you give out is where your Mercury is.
Mhm.
If it's in its detriment, either you don't know how and that can make your social life, your career, everything off. So if that's one of those things where you have a well-placed or a challenging placed Mercury, that's something that we're going to talk about.
Yeah. So what would be a good website or websites for people to be able to go to find this information about themselves, even outside of booking a reading?
Now this, I am very much whatever you want to do, whatever feels right, blah, 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 until it comes to this information. If you want to look up your birth chart online on a website, astroseek.com, astrocharts.com. Those are my favorite. If you want it on your phone and you want an app, if you want to get heavy into the actual astrology, like this is a pseudoscience and it'll give you the information. You're like, well, I don't even know what this means. And then you click on it and it tells you what it means, time passages. If you want to get into that, but you also want more of like the spiritual nature of astrology, the Pattern. Those are my two biggest app recommendations for astrology.
Now, see, I had gone on, because when we kind of touched upon my chart a bit, I did a little bit of, deep diving myself on the sites that you recommended. And there are so many different types of, astrological charts. There's Hellenistic, Vedic, like a lot. There's a lot. So what is the difference between like all of them and like Hellenistic per se, like your specialty, and why did you choose Hellenistic?
So a lot of so when you go into those websites, it's automatically going to put you in a house system called Placidus, because
Right.
That's what modern astrologers do. And that's probably the most popular, especially in the US. I started out as a modern astrologer, and the modern astrologers they do not use what's called equal house systems. So the houses can be like, 50 inches wide or 50 degrees wide instead of 30, and like all of these other things. And then the first house is ruled by Aries. The second house is ruled by Taurus. The third house is ruled by Gemini. So they have all of these things that come through. And although I got it, it just didn't sit right with me, especially with the house systems.
Yeah.
And then I was like, is there even another option for me to like better understand? So I went on like a super deep dive of modern astrology, and it just wasn't sitting with me. And I was like, I have to look up information. I don't understand the house systems. And then one day I was just messing around with all of the like things that you can click on on the website. And I clicked on traditional, which is Hellenistic astrology. Oh. All the houses went to exactly 30 degrees apart. And I realized that their house system was completely different. And at that point, I realized with no extra information, no digging, I could read the chart. And it was like an aha moment.
Oh, nice.
And then from then, it was easy. I was like, I can 100% do this. Where some people might look at a Hellenistic chart and not like it. I will tell you that even as a Hellenistic astrologer, Vedic astrology and like Draconic astrology look like actual Greek to me.
Yeah.
I always tell people when they ask if there a type of astrology that's more accurate than the other, it's not. Your natal chart is your book, and we're all reading your book just in different languages.
Yeah, to be fair, even looking at each of them, none of them, it was all like a different language to me. I was like, I literally was copying and pasting into Google and letting it explain it to me because I had no clue what any of that stuff meant.
It's a lot of information.
It is a lot of information. Even doing that is hard. The copying and pasting, knowing what to do. And I still.
Because everything makes a difference.
Yeah.
Every house, every planet, every luminary, and their geometry with each other. Do they get along? Do they fight? Do they have opposing opinions on your personality? Everything means something. And then where everything is right now means something too. And relating that to who you are. It's a lot of information.
Isn't Hellenistic astrology like the beginning of astrology as well? Isn't it like the most ancient form that all the other forms of astrology were kind of like spun off of?
It is very, very ancient. I won't say it's the most ancient, but it is one of the most ancient. Hellenistic astrology started in like, I think it was like the first century BC, like old. I think the first birth chart in that area, so we're talking about like the Mesopotamian, like the Mediterranean area, was like in like 380 something BC when the first birth chart was ever like drawn up, because they did not have Saturn in those times too. So everything was just observed in the sky and then documented and then practiced for, I think, over 700 years in those areas. A lot of modern astrology is bits and pieces of the ancients, which is a lot of Vedic and a lot of Hellenistic astrology.
Gotcha.
It's like a piggyback. They were like, okay, but we need to make it modern.
Okay. So can you still use like Hellenistic today to like do predictions for like world events?
Yes.
So can you share with us some crazy world events for 2026?
To a point. I will say, if you book with me, don't ask me about politics. I'm not going to talk about it. Yes, it's doable in a prediction. Yes, I had my own predictions, but I do not like to talk to clients nor online about them.
Okay.
We're in the middle of a crisis period. And that's when all of the outer planets, so Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus, are changing. So Pluto moved into Aquarius, and it did a little dance between Aquarius and, Capricorn, because these are slow moving planets. So when they station retrograde, they back up into other signs again and then just play with that line. But now Pluto's in Aquarius till 2044. And then Neptune moved into Aries, Uranus moved into Gemini. So now all of these outer planets, they don't set the tone. In Hellenistic astrology, we don't put a lot of emphasis on the outer planets until they make big moves. And they all did this year. All of them changed hands this year. So this is the beginning of a breakdown for a shaping of a whole new era of existence for everyone.
So like Tower moment in tarot.
Yes.
Okay.
But for the planet. It affects your birth. It affects your chart, your transit chart. But this is global. This is what's going to happen globally. This is will history repeat itself? Because all of these things have been recorded, and you see these certain themes come out in these zodiac signs when these outer planets make their moves. And we are absolutely rebuilding a new era, and forced change will happen during those era building, challenging, dynamic times when everybody's foundations start to crumble. Like nothing now is what it used to be, and what will be tomorrow is not what it is today. And that's what the outer planets do. This reminds us that the only thing sure in life is change.
That's fair.
So that's a big one. If you're going to make predictions, AI seems fun now. It'll get really, 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 really bad. It'll be used for really bad things. There'll be some government espionage, people stealing technologies. It'll be used in very bad ways until it blows up in everybody's face, and then we can use it for good. So that's a Pluto and Aquarius thing.
Okay. What does Pluto rule?
Pluto.
Is it communication or something?
Pluto is death. It's new cycles, rebirth, tearing things down. One of the best descriptions I've ever heard of what Pluto, like what the energy of Pluto is have you guys seen the movie Ghostbusters?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how toward the end of the movie, they have to choose the form of their destroyer? And
Yes.
the first thing that they think of, the destroyer becomes that image.
Mm-hmm.
Pluto is the destroyer. And what zodiac sign it's in is the form of the destroyer. So if something isn't working, Pluto comes in and says, we'll strip it away. This is an opportunity for something new, but this thing has to go first.
And what did you say Pluto was going to be in?
It is currently in Aquarius.
And what is Aquarius?
The most random energy that can happen ever. Mental processes, technologies, communications, things like that. So the big boom in AI happened when Pluto was in Capricorn. So like they were building those structures. And then when it moved into Aquarius, they expanded on it. And now it's becoming more of a community thing and it's being used more. But the thing about history repeating itself is every time new discoveries happened with Pluto and Aquarius, somebody used it for bad. It blew up in everybody's faces. Things got really bad until it was used for good.
Gotcha. What about major months? Are there like major months for everyone to kind of be on the lookout for 2026 via astrology?
February.
Yes, I want to know this so bad. Okay, you guys, this is what I want to know because she told me February 15th in my chart, and ever since then, I have not been able to get it out of my head. So I wanted to know, is it like a me thing, or is this like the whole world's coming and tipping the axis on February 15th?
This is an everybody thing. This is where the outer planet shape generations. February 15th is where things get real personal.
I want to know why. What happened?
February 15th, 2026, Saturn makes its ingress into Aries from Pisces. So over the summer, I don't know if anybody else had a very, very tense, felt like they were being attacked by the universe. Yes. June, July, and August. That was Saturn in Aries giving you a taste of Saturn and Aries energy for the summer. And then it retrograded back into Pisces. But it's no longer retrograde. February 15th, Saturn takes all of its big daddy energy and moves into Aries. The thing about Aries is, remember we were talking about planets being well and poorly placed?
Yeah.
Saturn and Aries they don't work well. They do not work well together. And that personal attack is very real. Aries is of the self and Saturn is discipline. So, and responsibility. So it won't create chaos, kind of like the outer planets do. It just holds you accountable for every decision you've ever made, every choice you've ever made, and every action you've ever taken, because Aries is ruled by Mars, so action. So if you have made bad moves for the next 2.5 years, so February 15th, 2026 till April 2028, Saturn is going to hold you accountable for your choices and your actions. And you're going to have to put the work into it, because on the back half, if you work with Saturn, Saturn rewards you amazingly, but it's slow. So you're not going to see any of those rewards. But if you grind with Saturn, if you work on yourself with Saturn, teaching what Saturn wants you to know, especially depending on the house, is it your relationships? Is it your career? Is it your background? Is it digging up old stuff and getting rid of it? What do I need to work with for the next couple of years so that I can be rewarded in 2028? You work with Saturn, you have a good time. You work against it, you just get universal smackdown. Just constantly.
So basically, right now, whatever our intuition is telling us needs to go, because if we fuck this up and we're still doing it in February, we're basically saying, okay, for the next 2 years, I'm going to lock in being this version of myself that I despise.
Yes. And then the universe will make it so once you're locked in, it just keeps getting worse.
Oh, no, hell no.
Exactly. So like if it's, and especially too where the North and the South node are. Now they do shift this year. That's another big thing coming in 2026. The North node and the South node, they choose what signs we have and what months we have our lunar and solar eclipses in. And the nodes are very much like what we're going after and what needs to be cut loose. That's why they're opposite each other and they're moving backwards in the sky. the North Node is in Pisces and the South Node is in Virgo. Sometimes we have to let go of old foundations and old structures and things that feel comfortable for things that just feel better and feel right. And your subconscious world is still very much need to be taken care of just as much as your physical world. And that's what the North and the South Node are teaching us now. So if your North and the South Node are in heavy houses and there's something you need to cut out of your life that you're just not, when Saturn moves into Aries, it'll hold you accountable for that choice. If you choose old things that feel comfortable because what feels good isn't safe, Saturn will create an environment to where you have to escape to the safe. And because you're not working with it, you're working against it. It'll feel very uncomfortable and very dramatic, and it does not have to be.
Okay, good to know. We had another really good question. Ashley would like to know, what's the best reading to book for a complete virgin to all of this? And she's super interested. Can you answer that? And then can you also like pull us up on your website and give us a breakdown for what each session is and why you should book each session on your website?
So a complete version is going to be the astrological wheel. So all of my readings come with a birth chart analysis, and then we'll go over your transits too, like what are the hot houses, where's the hot action right now, what are some things that you need to look out for going forward. And then I'll pull cards. And when I pull cards in the astrological, single house in your chart. So this card represents your person. This card represents your money. This card represents your habits. So it goes through the whole thing in each one of the houses in your chart. That's where I recommend you start, because it's like we're going to go over all of it. On the website, I do have, it says 2 hours, the shadow work with Mercury. I love shadow work. I think it's amazing. Our shadows are not to be feared. They're to be integrated into the personality. So this is kind of a shadow integration session, but we're working with Mercury while we're doing this. From one retrograde to the next, we're going to be keeping a shadow work journal on what communication is Mercury saying you need to have with yourself and in what area of your life, and working with that for 3 to 4 months, depending on between one retrograde for Mercury to the next, where I'll send journal prompts based on your personal chart and what is Mercury screaming at you to learn about yourself and others that month. And then we move to the next sign in house and the next sign in house. This synastry reading is basically a compatibility chart. How do you and your business partner, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your best friend, how do you get along? Where do you get along best? And what are the challenges in your relationship, and how do we work on those?
I actually have a question about that. When you do 2 charts side by side, right, and you're looking, you can see how they might interact based on different personality traits and all that other stuff. Yes. Do you find that sometimes when you join them together that they may, certain negative aspects might be balanced out, or you know what I mean? Like integrate differently with that particular person, whereas maybe with somebody else that would totally be completely different. You know what I mean?
Yes. So it's one of those things where like, I'll look at like, let's say, take Mercury, since we were just talking about Mercury. You have a water Mercury, it's more internal communication than external communication. And then their partner is, let's say, Mercury and Gemini. So they're going to be good at analyzing things and speaking out in public and things like that. So like now this person that only had a communication with their inner world has the ability to have a mouthpiece for them. So when they're sitting there in existential dread about calling AT&T and yelling at them about their phone bill, they now have a partner that's like, sick them. And then they can get on the phone and be like, so my girlfriend's phone bill. Right? They now have a mouthpiece where they didn't have before. So some things that wouldn't necessarily feel compatible are because that's one of the people in that relationship are good naturally at what the other person isn't good at.
Yeah.
And I mean, opposites attract sometimes for a reason. Because Lord knows my husband needed a mouthpiece and he got one.
Well, and too, sometimes it can totally even like make another person's worse if that's really not, I mean, like we talked about before, Sagittarius and Scorpios really don't go well together, you know, in general. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's exceptions, but in general, there's huge reasons for that. So like I get how that those two kind of charts might like clash, even be opposite.
And then when we look at like actual, just at the base of, you know, synastry and compatibility, I always look at Venus and Mars. So Venus is our relationship planet. It's how we maneuver everyone else in our life. And then Mars is where we take action, our drive, our willpower, and our intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
And how those get along. So I like to look at Venus for men and Mars for women. And then if you have like a well-placed Mars, what is going on with that other person with their Mars? Are our Marses compatible? Yeah. Are we able to share intimacy? Is one person's form of intimacy different? Love languages with Venus. What is their love language? Do these love languages speak the same language? And if they don't, how can they better communicate with each other? And that's kind of like what we talk about in a synastry report.
Yeah, that's cool.
I have a quick question about the synastry readings too. So let's say I wanted to book one with me and my husband. Would he need to be there as well, or?
As long as I have his permission.
Okay.
To look at his chart, because I don't like, I will in certain cases, if it's relevant, look at someone else's chart without their permission. Like, you know, if you're worried about somebody and you're like, hey, I just want to know if what the hard time they're going through is going to be over. But
or what if I was like, hey, I don't get along with my mom and I don't know why. I don't want her to be a part of this because I don't want her to feel like I do this.
And then I'll just be like, okay, you're just different in this area. Very personal things in charts I don't have permission to look into. But if your husband gives me his whatever, say whatever you want about me to her, I can look at I can compare your two charts without him being there.
Okay.
But I like to have that permission.
Yeah.
Because it feels like, I don't know, an invasion of privacy if I don't.
Yeah.
Like I'm just creeping around in people's filing cabinets in the dark with a flashlight. And I don't like to feel like that. But the next one, we have the astrological wheel, which is everything. Personal monthly transits. This isn't really, okay. I'll pull cards and we'll talk a little bit, but mostly this is a monthly email that you get with all of your transits listed. So we don't go over a lot of the personalities and things like that like we do with the building blocks. This is, I already know what your birth chart is. This is what is going to be going through this house for you. It's a detailed email about how this Mercury retrograde is going to affect you. How this Venus retrograde is going to affect your relationship this month. And it's just all of the monthly astrology built into your chart. And then I sent an email about it.
That sounds like a great way to like follow up after you've had like one of those readings too, where you get all that information and then it's like, okay, well, this is how you keep up with that and work with stuff. That's really cool you do that.
And I mean, because some people don't have time for those. They just want the bare bones. Like, what fresh hell am I looking at for December and January and February? The Lilith, where are your shadows? Where is your trauma? And how do we work with it? You have built-in wounds in your chart. And they're built-in wounds now. Are they triggering your old wounds? Chiron retrograde, everything feels very personal now that Chiron is in Aries. And especially when it's combined with Saturn. The pressure on yourself can become immense. Where do we learn about our wounds? Where are they now? And how do we work with them? The 12th house is a straight mental health check. What's going on with your mental health? Do you have mental health issues built into your chart? And what is triggering things right now? And how do we work with where the planets are now with your mental health? The wounded healer. This is about Chiron. It's kind of like how they make antivenom. The cure is in the disease.
Yeah.
So we build a cure for that wound around where it got into you in the first place.
Oh, I want to book that one now.
The elemental. A lot of people don't understand that the elements involved in your birth chart tell a story. For instance, I have an air-starved chart, which means that my thinking is one of the things that is very, very difficult to get a hold of, because air rules mental processes. It's communication. It's basically our own personal inner language. And if you have an air-starved chart, your mind can be scattered. You're at the mercy of where the planets are now. And on top of that, whenever I've ever been upset and someone told me to breathe, because the one air sign placement I have is Mars, I like hyperventilate. I'm just like, and they're like, not like that, stupid. Big breaths in, easy breath. I literally don't, it's an air sign. I literally don't know how to breathe. I didn't even know I wasn't even breathing, and I would randomly hold my breath until I started doing yoga, because I have an air-starved chart. If you have an earth-starved chart, you're never grounded. You may not be realistic at all. If you don't have if you lack fire in your chart, you may not have a ton of drive or passions, and you may be 56 years old and you still don't know what you want to do with your life, and you just kind of been coasting. Like, how do we make up for where we have missing elements? And then how do we calm down some of those ones that are way too prominent? Like, we're way too fiery and we're just bumbling our way through one natural disaster to the next, just sheer forcing it. So that's what the elemental reading is basically about. The life path are those people that have no, like, if you have an inkling and you just want to know what your chart says about what direction you're supposed to take, that's what you book. If you have no idea what you want to be when you grow up, I don't care how old you are, book the life path. We'll talk about where you're supposed to be.
Don't mind if I do.
And then the personal empowerment is just like owning yourself. Use our, our astrological placements as a weapon, but they can be empowering even as long as you work with them. Knowing your strengths is a strength. Knowing your weaknesses is a strength. Not knowing your strengths is a weakness. Not knowing your weaknesses is a weakness. Where are you strong and where are you weak in your chart, and how do we make everything work for you?
What's that one called?
The personal empowerment.
These are all like cheat codes. That's what your birth chart is. Like
yeah, up, down, left, right, A, B, B.
Yeah, dude, I officially have 4 more readings to book with you just based off this live.
And then on the website too, you also see appointments for my business partner, Shelly. She's the one that does the Reiki. She prefers in person, but it can be done virtually.
Okay.
She also does pet Reiki as well. So if you have an animal you can't leave home alone, email her, message her. She'll try to calm them down before vet appointments, which is hilarious because I don't have any like high stress animals, but she does. So she's like, I need to get this dog straight before we go.
Maybe that's why it's drawn to her too. I mean, when you find your purpose and you're living in it, all those things will be drawn to you to help you live in that purpose and fulfill it even more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that makes sense.
She's always been like, she knew she needed to be with Reiki. It took her a while to get there, but once she finally did, it was just clicked, and she's like, this is where I need to be.
Okay.
It was the same thing when I found Hellenistic Astrology from Modern. I was like, I can read this now. Like, this is where I need to be. This is my wheelhouse.
I only have a couple more questions to ask you,
Yes.
and then y'all get ready because we're opening the phone line, the text, the chat here. Just a few minutes. You guys will get to call in and even talk to her live if you want to. So we had a really great question in the chat, and it is this one right here. Not all Cancer couples are doomed. It's more based on a specific chart. Right or wrong?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Honestly, and especially if we're talking about a same-sex couple, I could see where people would say that they're not as compatible. But honestly, there are some zodiac signs that just have a very, very different expression of that zodiac sign based on whether or not they're male or female. But you do have two people there that are emotional. They tend to lead with their emotions, can be fairly introverted. We have to look at the rising sign though, because your Cancer placement in the 10th house, if you're a Libra rising, you're not as introverted as classic Cancer energy is. So it's not even just the fact that you're both Cancers. Who's in charge? Are we being social with our Libra rising? Or are we, do we have a Cancer moon to go with it? Are we introverted and we're not talking to nobody?
That's so weird that you just said that. Because my husband is a Capricorn double Cancer. So he's a Cancer moon, Cancer rising, but he is the most extroverted person ever.
Yeah. Was he shy when he was younger?
Not really.
So Capricorn, so we're talking mom energy and dad energy.
Yes.
Because Cancer and Capricorn are opposite each other.
Yes.
So here's the thing about that, especially considering I know that he is a Capricorn, so his sun is in the 7th house. He will speak out more for others than himself.
Yep.
But he will always have the structure that his emotions will never take over as much as others until it involves someone else.
That's actually fact, yes.
So even though it can be a lot of emotion, also he will try to, the worst part that he has is trying to dominate his emotions.
Yes,
to
absolutely.
Rewrite the story of why he is in his feelings.
Yep.
Instead of just being in his feelings. And this is where that opposition, that opposite energy comes into conflict with each other. But yeah, that Capricorn's like, I have to talk to people. I have to leave my house to do stuff. And the thing that I want to do the most is not only build a life and a structure for myself, but for my family and my loved ones, because we're talking about the 7th house. So it's kind of like, I can be my caring mom, but dad's in charge.
So Capricorn's why he's an extrovert and Cancer's why he's an introvert? Because he's both.
Yep.
Okay.
It's the polar opposites, because Capricorn and Cancer sit opposite from each other. They're sisters. Yes. So he has both that mom and dad energy where like he will go on a business trip and then 3 days in, all he wants to do is come home. Like
fact.
All he wants to do is come home. That is where you get into the opposition. Like, okay. He's like, listen, I worked hard. We made a ton of money. We're going to, Bali. And then 2 days in, he's like, as soon as we get home, we're doing this, we're doing that. So it's that opposite pull between the two, between the introvert and dad.
Very much daddy energy with him all the time.
Yes, it's strong energy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Okay, my last couple of questions. So I want to know what even is a Saturn return. I know that it's supposed to be like a major life event that happens between 28 and 30, but I wanted to know if you can explain it, especially in like from a Hellenistic astrologer standpoint.
I think of it like midlife crisis.
Right. So I also wanted to ask about that. So first I want to know about Saturn returns, but then I want to know if there's a compelling thing in the birth chart that leads into different ages for midlife crises, and if you can expand on that a little bit, starting with Saturn return though.
There are certain ages that we go through where certain things are going to happen to everybody, like your Saturn return. So when you're born, Saturn was in a certain zodiac sign, and it takes approximately 28 to 30 years for it to circle back and come back to that zodiac.
Oh.
So if you're born, say, somewhere in the late 90s, and you were born with Saturn and Aries as of February 15th, welcome to your first Saturn return. This is when you get that first really big, heavy knock of having to own the responsibility of where you've set yourself up to be in the past 30 years. How have you engineered your life? And where did you go wrong? And that's like Saturn. It's the smack to the back of the head. It's dad standing there with his hands on his hips. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Mm.
And now you have to learn not to disappoint dad. It's a very heavy ego blow because of the karmic, ramifications that Saturn can sometimes have, where like, I gave you, this is where I was when you were born. You had this structure here. You didn't listen to the lesson I wanted to teach you from birth. So we're coming full circle to get you back on track. Saturn wants you to be back on track.
So what would some of those lessons hypothetically look like for a Saturn return?
It depends. If it's like, let's say Aries, it's going to be very personal. But let's say you're a Libra rising and you're in 7th house Aries, it's going to be relationships.
Okay.
Are you surrounded by the people that you're supposed to be surrounded by that amplify you instead of decrease you? Mm-hmm. And that includes marriages and business partnerships and pretty much anybody that you rely on to boost you up. Do you have the people in your corner that are for you? And if not, Saturn will put the pressure to remove the bad ones and to keep the good ones.
How long does the Saturn return last for?
About 2.5 years.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm in mine.
Nope, you're not. Because you're my
sure?
age. We're in our Neptune square Neptune and Pluto square Pluto. So when you're when you hit 40, you hit your Neptune square Neptune.
Okay.
42 is Pluto square Pluto. So Neptune square Neptune, a square, not a good conversation. Neptune is illusion, daydreaming, and delusion. Neptune square Neptune at 40, the rose-colored glasses are off. How are you consistently lying to yourself? And what do you need to open your eyes about? We get closer to 42, that Pluto square Pluto. Remember, this is that planet that destroys.
Yeah.
This is a real life brush with your physical mortality. And how much longer do you have? And what you want to do with that time.
Sounds about right. I'm about to be 43, so.
Yeah, and then you have to look at perfection years too. So every age that you are has a certain house where that house is going to play a heavy theme. And for us, for 43, it's the 8th house. And the 8th house isn't good feelings. Sex, death, other people's money, and power and control.
Oh,
it's
fuck.
loss too. But you can look at that loss as to what's not even for you. You can have these bouts with power and control, and you're like, well, the more I try to control this thing, the worse it gets. So I'm just going to let that go. And the more you let go when you have an 8th house perfection, where last year, 42 was all about the 7th house perfection year, like relationships. Again, like who's not for you? What do you need to do to get a stronger backing, and who is holding you back or holding you down?
Gotcha. Makes a lot of
So
sense.
is the Neptune the one that follows a Saturn return, or is there something else that happens between Saturn return and Neptune in the 40s?
So you'll have your Saturn return,
mm-hmm.
and then you'll have, like, in your late 30s, you'll have like the North and the South node that I was talking about.
Uh-huh.
They'll flip. So let's say you're born with North node in Pisces, South node in Virgo. In your late 30s, they'll flip. And the North node will be in Virgo and the South node will be in Pisces. So this is your life's first big 180. Literally. Like, our priorities in our late 30s change drastically because of the North and the South node. What we used to chase no longer even brings us joy anymore. And what we used to hold on to is no longer a foundation we can stand on anymore. Mm-hmm. And then you get into your, Pluto square Pluto, and then your Neptune square Neptune. And then about 44, you have your Saturn opposition. So that's where Saturn was in your chart, and it's going to be in the complete opposite. So if you have Sagittarius Saturn, Saturn will now be in Gemini, and they're like arguing. right? They're like, okay, so this is where you were, and this is where I'm telling you you need to be now. So there's going to be a pull of force during that time. And then when we get on later on, we have Chiron return. So our natural wound comes back to the zodiac sign that it was in. And we have to like prove to the world that we've healed those wounds properly. Like we don't have gaping abscesses left in our, psyche and our emotions, that we've cured those wounds. And if not, we have another opportunity to. And then we keep on going. And then Saturn square Saturn into our 50s. And then by the time we hit our 60s, we get that second Saturn return.
Okay. Jeez.
And then if you make it to 90, you get a third.
Woo!
Yeah, there's certain periods starting at like 7 to 8 where there are certain age groups that you go through where it feels like, oh my God, but it's not just you. And that's probably the greatest message of astrology. Get online. Somebody is telling your story because it's not just you. Someone else is also having their Saturn return. And someone else also has that Saturn return in the same house you do. You're never going through this stuff by yourself. And there is an end date to all of it and a way to work with it. The universe doesn't want you to fail. It just wants to help you set yourself up for success. You just have to read the manual and listen to the advice. And take your blows, take your lumps.
That reminds me of that meme where the guy's going through the paperwork and he's like, why? Oh, that's why.
Yeah, exactly. You have to take your lumps because those lessons, especially in that first Saturn return that you're taught, when you're in your Saturn return, you're like, you know what? I don't even know if I want to be here anymore. Like, this is too much. And then when you're out, there's that, that perspective that you have now where you're like, oh, that had to happen so I could be where I am in now. But it can be so deep and so traumatic that you feel like it's the end of you when really it's the true beginning of you. I don't think people understand until after their Saturn return just how much you're not living in your true potential until you've been through it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's
even when
why
I think of like a return, I think of coming home to myself.
Yes.
Returning back to everything that is true to me and not what was dictated me based on like my life experiences or the family I was born into or the friends that I made. It's all about you at the core of it all, right?
Yes, because when you start out, those perfection years I was talking about, 0, the first house, it's all about you. As we travel through in our ages, 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, by the time we get to the 7th house, this is when us kind of falls away and it starts being about our relationships and the things we're not in control of. And the spiritual nature of it all and our public image and like us falls away. It'll come back around. But sometimes when we're going through those ages where we're falling away from ourselves and getting up into like we hang on to things from others that aren't ours. And a Saturn return is kind of like a personal reset button where you have to get back to you because it's you that needed the work the whole foundation you have with yourself, the less external forces affect you.
It's like peeling the onion and crying while you're doing it.
Yeah, and you will cry. You will cry. It's never easy, but it is necessary.
7, do you have any other questions for Stephanie before we open it up to public?
No, I think we covered everything. I'm sure I'll think of stuff later. Trust me, I will, because I'll be like, oh, I should have asked that, but
I talked a lot.
We held it. I think we're good.
Okay, so that means that the phone line's open, the text is open, and the comments are open. Whatever questions you have, anything to do with astrology, you want to know why it works, why it doesn't work, pros and cons, you want to know anything at all, now is the time to ask those questions. While we're waiting on that, I'm super curious from like a synastry standpoint, why the three of us work so well together and why I'm so drawn to Sagittarius.
Ooh, good question.
1, you have Sagittarius is the ruler of your 3rd house. Our chaotic energy is a habit for you. You recognize our energy in your day to day.
Okay.
2, you have Mars in the 1st house. You understand fire. because you
understand
have your
what?
own. You understand fire because you have your own that is very personal to you. Two, you and seven specifically, you both have Mars in an air sign, and you're both air risings. So you're a Libra rising. She's an Aquarius rising. Two, when you first started talking, did you trauma bond over thought processes and overthinking?
Yes and no.
Probably. It was so long ago. I honestly don't.
It kind of what I think you walked me through it because you at that point you understood me, so you understood where I was at, and you kind of guided me through it. So in a sense, yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I don't feel like you were so much experiencing that type of trauma in the moment that I met you, but you understood it.
So, like, I also have Mars in Aquarius because Seven and I are only 7 days apart. So we have similar charts, definitely not the same, but similar. That overthinking, that burning of Mars in the mind is enough for anyone to trauma bond over, because it's like the movie and the reel and the subtitles, and it's all going 24/7, and we're not sleeping and we can't get out of our heads, and it's just a constant, just fiery wheel of thought doom. That is enough for anybody to trauma bond over.
I have an Aquarius moon too, and don't you as well, Jordan?
Yes.
Right? Yep. Yeah. Capricorn. So you both have Saturn ruled moons too. So having a difficult time and a slow time navigating emotions is also difficult for both of you. Where I have a Sagittarius moon, we're just out here reacting. So, but also, yeah, Jordan, that's one of the reasons why. And honestly, for me and Seven, Sagittarius is just get along.
Yeah, we do.
We can't help ourselves. We really can't.
I get along with everybody, but I can usually only take so much of certain people, and it's not even them. It's just, I get overwhelmed so much with a lot of people are very emotional where I'm not, and I struggle with that. You are able, Jordan, to control your I don't know. You temper your emotions like I do. We express them the same, and it's not overwhelming to each other, I feel, and that because of that.
It's because your Saturn ruled moons give you discipline over emotion.
Yeah.
So
we experience that, don't get me wrong, and we will vent to each other and stuff like that, but we don't make the other carry it, even though we do because we're friends, but we don't. It's so hard to explain.
Well, it's the discipline aspect where people are out here acting like they don't know how to freak out in public, and they don't know how to just get stuff done, and they don't know how to like manage themselves as an adults because they're so overwhelmingly emotional. Now that's their baseline. That's on them. But you two have that control that others do not.
Oh, okay.
When it comes to emotional realms, where mine is weirdly like, honestly, when I freak out and I'm really mad because that fire is in Sagittarius, most of my existential crises are just entertainment and laughs for everyone.
I was just going to say, I bet yours are comical because of the way you express yourself. Yes.
If I have a breakdown, I'm laughing, everybody else is laughing. We're talking about some serious stuff, but it ain't serious at all.
That's kind of how I am though, too.
Yeah. Well, you said serious.
Okay, so let's answer the people in the comments, and then I have another question for you.
Okay.
Why are people so scared of Mercury retrograde?
Because it is a nuisance of habit. So, on that Mars is retrograde, like they might be like, "Ooh, everybody's so spicy and like mouthy." Why? But they don't know it's Mars retrograde. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, you see all the breakups?" Nobody knew it was Venus retrograde. Mercury retrograde affects our everyday. It's the car we drive, the phone we use, the laptops we use. It's the traffic lights, it's everything. So it's very, very present and annoying. Also, it's going to happen in very real positions in your houses, especially if you're a Gemini, Virgo rising, or you have a Mercury in detriment, which is Pisces and Sagittarius. It can be, or if you have Mercury retrograde transiting your 6th house, that transit you can get injury, you can get an illness, you have to watch out. Like it's more of a nuisance, but it can be more present and more affecting of our everyday than some of the other retrogrades.
Mercury retrograde is the only one that I have commonly heard you cannot do things during.
Well, you always have free will. You can always roll the dice. Sometimes the consequences for rolling those dice are metaphorical, and sometimes they are very, very on the nose. Now, for me, when it comes to retrogrades, we'll start with Mercury. I will not sign documents during a Mercury retrograde.
Yeah, that's one of the big no-nos.
I will not get a car. I will not sign on a house. I will not sign on a partnership. I will not do those things where I have to sign my name when Mercury is retrograde. Is everything going to fall apart? Probably not. Is the house that I bought going to catch on fire? Probably not. Will there be issues that make the process difficult? Yes. I do. Well, depending on the Mars retrograde, you have to really look at the house and the sign. We had a nasty, volatile Mars retrograde in Gemini a couple years back. Everybody was talking smack and getting caught for it. So depending on the energy of the sign, like if it's Earth and we're having a Mars retrograde, I would not probably take action toward career opportunities. I would take it slow. I would definitely not be impulsive, because Mars retrogrades can make you so aggressively impulsive. And then that energy dies out and you're like, I didn't want that. Venus retrograde, I would never start a relationship during a Venus retrograde. I would also never borrow money during a Venus retrograde, nor spend without having backup during a Venus retrograde.
That was one of my other questions. Are there no-nos for other retrogrades? Because the only one that's like common knowledge is like, don't sign a legal document during Mercury retrograde, and be ready to have fucked up communication during Mercury retrograde.
If you're making a big change to your hair and your look, don't do it with Mercury retrograde.
You know what's funny about that? I wanted to tell you this last time. For the past 4 years, I always cut my bangs, cut my hair, and dye my hair during Mercury retrograde, and I never fuck it up. But I do it myself. I don't go somewhere to have somebody else do it for me.
Same.
Now, try that and get your hair dyed, cut by somebody you're not familiar with.
No, I would never do that. I already don't trust people to do my hair. Hair's such a spiritual
if you're
thing
going to go in for your usual appointment, if you're just getting a touch up and your usual haircut, fine. But if you're going in to change your whole look, especially if that Mercury retrograde is anywhere near Venus or anywhere near Libra and Taurus, or anywhere near your first house or Leo. Oh my God, do not get your hair cut when Mercury is retrograde in Leo. Okay. If you make a big change, oh God, I don't even want to, like, that pink hair is going green.
That's not happening. Don't you dare think
so bad that you did the AI generate and you're like, I'm gonna look so good in this. You're getting a Karen haircut. That is not the pixie you thought it was gonna be. Like,
yeah,
it can work out. Not, I mean, hair's gonna grow back. Like, you know, again, not the worst, but I would never change my whole look during a Mercury retrograde.
I like to fuck around and find out. But like, I also wanted to touch upon, you know, Jordan, as a reader, and as for me as a reader, I noticed that during a Mercury retrograde, a lot of wounds are brought up. And I feel that's a big fear for people too, and why they don't like to deal with Mercury retrogrades, because things do come up that they have to face. And I feel like they're afraid of that. And that's a huge thing. If you can learn how to confront those wounds during a Mercury retrograde, and going and having your chart done I feel would be great for that, and learning how to navigate your wounds through those retrogrades and not be so afraid of it and try to work through it. You know what I mean?
So this is why my shadow work with Mercury is when Mercury is not retrograde.
Okay.
All right, everyone's like retrograde. The planets do not stop and go backwards. They're on an ecliptic pattern circling the planet.
Right.
Circling the sun. We're not in a geocentric environment anymore. Circling the sun. When they set up for their retrograde, they're going to just take a little loop-de-loop. They're going to slow down, take a little loop-de-loop, and then speed back up and get back on track. That's what the retrograde motion is, okay?
Okay.
So when we look at what Mercury is, it's communication. When Mercury is retrograde, it's internalized. When you take the energy of a planet and you put that planet in retrograde, you internalize that energy.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're just talking with yourself most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
The voice in your head, the subconscious thoughts, especially in Scorpio, we just had a pretty rough Mercury retrograde. Started in Sagittarius. Mercury's not well placed in Sagittarius. Retrograded back into Scorpio. Past stuff comes up. Exes come up. If it's in the 4th house, old wounds, old childhood trauma comes up. This is you're now talking with certain aspects of yourself that you don't talk to on a day-to-day anymore.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But when Mercury is retrograde, that energy is now internalized. If it's in Sagittarius, it could be a train wreck, but you'll be happy about it. You'll be oddly optimistic about the hot mess express you're in. If it's in Capricorn, you will browbeat yourself to death about how you have not been structured, how you've let things go. It's a very it's a not forgiving retrograde because of the pressures. Aquarius, oh my God, you could just move to the desert and start a cult and nobody knows why. And now you're really into neons and it could be the weirdest energy. And then your thought processes could be so crazy. We're talking Pisces. Oh God, a Mercury retrograde in Pisces is like a subconscious dump of having no idea how to navigate your subconscious and your communication with your emotions. So it can be very harrowing depending on the house and the zodiac sign it's in.
Right.
Okay,
so those are the
questions.
times we want to talk to ourselves.
What'd you say?
Those are the times we want to talk to ourselves. And especially if you get a reading and you're like, okay, this retrograde, tell me what to expect. All right, we're doing this retrograde in Cancer. We need to talk to our emotions and we need to talk about why we take care of the people we take care of. And do they deserve our energy? Right.
Yeah.
So, and then that's what we think about those 19 to 20 days or whatever when Mercury is retrograde.
Yeah, I'm definitely even in my own reading style, lean into it. Don't run away from it. I always do Mercury retrograde readings during Mercury retrograde. Why is it fucked up? What can you do about it? Positive things to look forward to, which is, I love this question too that Rachel asked. Do you feel that Mercury retrograde can have some positive things that we need to do, but people make others fear it?
Yes. Every single one of those things that feels like existential dread has a purpose, a positive outcome if you look at it from the perspective that it's pointing out, and an opportunity for personal growth.
Exactly.
The universe is screaming at you to talk to the darker parts of yourself. The universe is screaming that everything outside of yourself can be a distraction. How do you get back to you? And these are all opportunities to grow yourself. The stronger you are, the less outside forces have an effect on you, the better you know yourself, the better and easier everything just gets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it falls back to that whole, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. It's an opportunity to heal and move forward, so that way things can move forward in a way you actually want it to for your best interest.
Yeah, these are time periods when getting the work done is the most important and the easiest. If you're trying to work inner work and Mercury isn't retrograde, you're like, man, I feel like that wasn't great. But you go see your therapist when Mercury is retrograde. She says one triggering thing to you and all of this comes up and out. That's an opportunity. That's what you've been waiting for. You didn't want to do it, but you needed it.
That's why I love triggers. Yeah, they feel nasty, but it's like, if you're getting triggered, that's your cue on that's what I need to work on. That's what I need to. It's a feeling. You need to follow and listen to your emotions because they'll guide you. I love that.
Which is why when I see those issues and that trauma first in people's chart, it jumps at me. 7, that's because of our Scorpio placements. Mm-hmm. I love the dark because it's in working with the dark that we become battle hardened.
Yes.
You look in the dark and you're no longer afraid of it. You are just out here strong like a juggernaut. Nothing can take you down.
Yeah, and then you're the living proof. You're the living proof for other people too that yeah, it fucking sucked, but I went through it, I made it, and it made me a better version of who I am, and that's why I'm so relatable, because I did that thing that was so hard that felt like it was going to crush how I saw myself or completely change, my experience here, but it was worth it.
Right. It helps you have the power to guide others through it.
Yes.
And if you can, even if you make it hard to do things for yourself, just understand that someone out there will hear something you say and could be that inspiration to internalize that trigger that they need. And it could be someone that just heard rough conversation in a grocery store with your best friend, and it could be your kids. Just understand that every example you put yourself through, you show someone else that they can do it too.
Yes. Okay, next question. If I was told I was born in the 2 a.m. hour, would that be enough for my reading, or do I need to know exact minute?
If you were born at, say, 6:30 a.m. and your mom or dad said, well, it was kind of like 6:25-ish, 6:15-ish, your birth chart will still probably be very accurate.
So what is the timeline that they need to know in between?
2 hours.
What is it?
So 2 hours. So the lines that we're going through for the rising signs change zodiac signs every 2 hours.
So if someone's born at 2 a.m., she'd be able to get an accurate reading?
Yes. If let's say she was born at 2:15 and I plug it in 2 a.m., it'll still probably be very accurate. I'd have to look at it though, because sometimes if it's sitting right on the cusp at 0 degrees, we might need to know whether or not we need to go deeper into 2 a.m. or more toward, 1:30. But for the most part, if it's 2 a.m. and you're like 2:12 or whatever, still very accurate.
Okay.
Because sometimes they cut that cord and they're like, oh my God, I forgot to look at the time.
Wait, so does it go by the time that you're born or actually time to cut the cord?
Well, when they look at the birth time, it is once you're out, because your journey begins when that cord is cut. Because up until that cord cutting, your journey as a fetus is in your mom's chart.
Oh, okay.
Your chart and you as an individual begins at moment of separation.
Fun.
This is why birth charts aren't built on conception dates. They're birth dates.
So those men who just never really got their cord cut from their mother,
Let's not talk about the astrological implications of that.
Oh my gosh. That was epic, Seven.
Known a couple of those in my lifetime.
Listen, that's why you got to be a certain type of person to be with a male water sign. Because they always have ties to mom.
Yeah.
And sometimes, depending on the chart, they're not good connections to mom. Or they always want a mom.
Mm-hmm.
But, if you mom a man that's a water sign but has really good Capricorn or Libra placements, is super fair, you'll be his mom, but he'll treat you like a queen.
Yeah.
Depends on the chart.
I just don't want to be your mom. I can't be just like your mom. I'm sorry. I'm not that person.
Yeah.
I get it.
So are there signs that are just like so much more compatible than anybody else? And are there signs that should just never be together?
Astrologically, I don't like to say, especially considering the fact that the whole chart matters, that there are certain sun signs that do not work with each other. But I consistently see Virgo on Virgo and Aries on Aries energy not working out. I don't know why. In Aries on Aries, they're both the most important people in each other's lives. Who do we prioritize? Because Aries energy is strong energy, because you put the sun in Aries and that sun is exalted, right? It's of the self. It is selfish energy. We all need selfish energy, because selfish isn't necessarily a bad word, but in a relationship, it can be. And the Virgo on Virgo is just like, they're both just trying to protect their anxieties. So they prioritize their anxieties, and like that makes for, I need to be over here with my anxiety and I need to be over here with my anxiety. And they're not growing together. They're just coexisting. And that tends to not be a long-standing situation. Now, everybody's different. Things always work out. There's always different things going on in the charts and in the world. And some people have worked on themselves and some people can't. There's always free will. But those are the two like sign on sign relationships that I see have the hardest time working out.
That must be why my parents work so well. My mom's a Virgo and my dad is an Aquarius. And just based on what you said about those two signs, I understand their relationship so much more. Just singling out their sun signs.
Yes.
That's
it
awesome.
can be very accurate with just sun sign astrology, especially if they have strong placements in those signs. But yeah, like Virgos in general need others in their life. Because they need a sounding board for their own bullshit. Because that internal dialogue is unwell. But they need someone positive, someone that can think through things, someone either factual, optimistic, or like it can't be somebody that ignores hard problems. A Virgo needs to be able to dump their whole life on you, and you're like, okay, let's get this bag of snakes. We're going to pull them apart. We're going to sort them out, and we're going to figure this out together. Virgos need other people, but it's difficult to work with them because of how high anxious, how high strung they can be. They seem super judgmental, but really how they judge themselves is way harsher than they could ever judge anyone else.
Yeah.
And honestly, like my mom being a Virgo is where I learned that whole, are you venting or do you want my help?
Yep.
That was a life lesson for me in discovering that about myself. And a lot of it was based on that relationship with her and me feeling like I was never able to help her, but not realizing she wasn't always asking for help. She just literally needed a sounding board for the bullshit.
Yeah. And like, that's how I learned how to better communicate with my sister, was actually looking at her birth chart. She's a Virgo too. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so selfish. She's so my way or the highway. Really the whole time she was just protecting her anxieties and what triggered her and what she could not push through and what she ignores on purpose because sometimes it's just too much for her to deal with. And like, just being able to give her the advice like, hey, listen, I know what you said to me, but it's Mercury retrograde. Give it 2 weeks and then come back to me. Knowing her birth chart and knowing her anxieties and knowing Virgo energy helped me like not just build my relationship with my sister, but also save our friendship.
Yeah.
Right. And that's hard for Sagittarius because we see the problem and we just automatically know how to fix it. And so we want to give that advice to help. Yep. So yeah, totally get it.
Sometimes we can't. And that's part of I'm gonna tell you, this is part of the Sagittarius journey. And like maintaining friendships and how to work with what we deem from a Sagittarius lens, difficult personalities. Our truth is not always everybody else's truth. Right. And just because we see the path laid before them doesn't mean that it's our job to put them on it.
Yeah.
And that is a big life lesson for Sagittarius. Because just because you can tell somebody that, listen, I am naturally designed. You tell me one thing, I can expand on that. And I see where if you step on this stepping stone, this is where you're going to be in 30 years. Other people don't understand that, especially more present people like Geminis and Virgos. They're everyday people. They don't expand the way that we do. So we have to learn how to navigate this planet with other people and knowing that how we view things is not how everybody else does.
Right.
And sometimes you just got to let people stumble over those wrong stepping stones until they find their own. And then you just have to be there for encouragement.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Okay, Ashley wants to know, so now that we do delayed cord clamping and stuff, does that change anything for their birth chart, birth time, things like that?
Not really. Not really. Not in like a situation where it would be so detrimental to the chart that it wouldn't be an accurate depiction of the personality that is developing.
So if a baby was born at 8:15 at night and the mother wanted to do that delayed cord clamping, that would still be listed as their time of birth, would be 8:15, even though the cord wasn't cut at 8:15?
Should be, yes.
Okay. I think that answers that. If
because
not,
basically what that's doing is there's now no flow between mother and infant. The infant at that point is just absorbing the nutrients that are left within the cord. And like when you think of cutting itself, that's why there's cord cuttings, which by the way, I also do that. It is an option on the website. I forgot to cover because we're talking about astrology. I do also do cord cuttings. It's literal cutting, like the severing of energy. Mom is now no longer feeding baby with her being. Now we have external feeding. So that's why that's so important for that energy cutting as well as physical cutting to start the baby's journey away from the mom's journey.
Do you want to explain a little bit about what cord cutting is, since that did come up as part of something you offer on your website?
Basically, it's taking your energy you don't want in your life anymore, and protecting and severing the bond and sending your energy back to you and whatever fresh hell they brought into your life back to them.
So it's not harmful to either party to be able to separate that energy, and no one has to worry about it being like voodoo or witchcraft or something.
No,
like
and
that.
here's the thing too. I would never, ever, ever, ever do anything. Sender is like just you severing your energy from them, right? This is like, like I'm the rubber, you're the glue. What you send to me bounces off me and sticks back to you, right? That's a return to sender. That was never your energy to begin with. It was what they were projecting onto you. Now, I would never do anything to like mess with somebody else's free will, existence, energy, anything, because karma is real.
Oh, for sure.
And when you do stuff, I don't even put people in the freezer. I just protect myself. Like, I don't do all of these big trigger things that you see like in the witch talk or anything like that. Putting people in the freezer, whatever. I protect me and mine. Yeah. And that's all I do. And you have to look at the ramifications for if you listen. All of us are in our ego when we think that somebody has done something bad enough to us that they deserve tenfold, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, you have to look at your own motivations too, because anything that they did to you, you open them up to allow them to do that too.
Right.
You have to take responsibility for what happened, as well as an understanding that without you experiencing any negativity, karma will take effect. They will get theirs. You just have to be patient and go about your day. Karma will come to get them. Just be patient.
Yeah, I love your interpretation of it too. So many people ask me that, because that's also something that I offer with people, is doing cord cuttings. It's literally just the separation of energy. It's like you can't even be yourself as an empath because someone else's energy is influencing you so much that you don't even feel like yourself anymore. Maybe you don't even realize that you've changed so much that people don't even recognize you, or people are even saying that to you. Yeah. That's what a cord cutting is about. It's about separating that energy where someone has entirely too much influence, or you have entirely too much influence on someone else, and it's draining the life out of you, and you don't want to be so connected to it anymore. It literally goes, okay, these people, the energy is way too close. Let's factory reset them both, put them back in their own original settings, and then they can figure this out together. It's
because how that works out is you stop thinking about them, they stop thinking about you, you're not thinking about if they're thinking about you, and they're not. So then this is like them in their corner and you in yours, and you get to move on with your lives now.
Right. Yeah. And I can even look at that from a scientific and, / psychological aspect, as you're kind of going through the motions to help yourself and your own brain and your own mind, say, this is what I'm doing, setting out the intention of I need to separate, and it helps your brain just process that, and it makes sense to me either way.
The more you worry about other things and other people, because you can cut cords with bad habits in yourself too. This is not just exes and breakups and old best friends who did you dirty and stole your boyfriend, right? This is like I have cut cords with fear and anxieties, and I have cut cords with things that are about myself. Things that I constantly hold on to that I need to let go of so that I can move on with my life, that are inside me, nobody else. So when you do all of these things, you're just declaring to the world that I'm in my me era and I'm ready to move on. Yeah. You will know when you're ready for that too.
And to yourself, because you're sitting there and acknowledging the issue, that there's an issue, and that you're doing something to end that issue.
Yes.
I think that's so important.
Definitely.
Okay, Rachel has a question. She said, do you share on your page brief information on the different planet retrogrades? I would love to know more on them.
Yes, I do. I share it on the business page that I have with my business partner, Ascending Shadows. And I also have like a private little just me page where I just do all of my astrology dumping. And that's Ascending Astrology. So how we got started with Ascending Shadows is she was Purple Shadow Creations. I was ascending astrology. We combined forces, ascending shadows.
Oh.
So if you want just the astrology dump, it's ascending astrology on Facebook. If you want everything, ascending shadows. I post it all on both. So you're never going to miss anything. And then I also have blogs on the website too. So if you're like, oh my God. So coming soon is the fresh hell that we're going to be going through in 2026. So if you want to, you can also book and then check out the blogs on everything that is going to be in 2026.
Yes. And Ashley, now's the time to ask those questions. If you have more questions, she's in the hot seat today. Whatever astrology, anything you want to know, curiosity you have, now is the time to ask those questions. We'll probably be on for 10, 15 more minutes before we call it a day. So seriously, you guys, if you want to know more about yourself, what are your main three? What do you want to know about those things? Anything you want to know, now is the time to ask those questions.
Ashley, so many questions. It's a lot of information.
Yeah. Oh, so we were having a little like side chat before we went live, and you were explaining to me why the Pattern is such a good app and about how it factors in true astrologers and like how some other apps don't do that. Can you talk a little bit more about that while we wait?
So one of the reasons why I have very specific apps and websites that I like is, listen, I am very much, I listen to the drama. I shouldn't, but I do. But according to a lot of people, specifically CoStar, I know a lot of people have CoStar. I used to have CoStar. CoStar is hilarious with their blurbs and everything. And then I heard that they don't even really hire actual astrologers to do their write-ups. And like it's distracted by the fun and everything and how quick everything is to the fact that it's not the most that you can get out of an app. Now, don't get me wrong. Apps are still generalized astrology. But the ones that are going to be the closest to viewing the whole chart are going to be the Pattern and time passages. Where CoStar's like, hey, you saucy little Sagittarius moon, blah, blah, blah. Funny quip, boom. Like,
yeah.
Okay, that was entertaining, but like, what do I do?
So CoStar is not like an overall view of your entire natal chart and things that you're dealing with now because of something, maybe retrograding or something you're personally dealing with. It's more
like a fortune cookie versus Cliff Notes gives you fortune cookie. CoStar gives you fortune cookie information, where like time passages and the Pattern gives you like the Cliff Notes, the full Cliff Notes version of your chart.
Okay.
If you want the full book, you got to study and you got to get with an astrologer.
All right. Ashley wants to know, I'm a Cancer, June 23rd. So my fourth sign, would that be my zodiac 4 months from June?
Okay, so I'm a Cancer, June 23rd. So my fourth sign would be my 4th month from June. So it's depending on are you talking about your rising?
I think she's curious about houses, like how you were talking about how there's so many houses in astrology. I'm assuming though, I don't know for sure.
Your time chooses your rising. So you could be a Cancer sun and a Libra rising. I have nothing to do with your Cancer sun. But if you're talking about like you're a 4th house Cancer, meaning that your rising sign puts your sun and Cancer in the 4th house, that's deep. That's deep emotions. We're not going to talk about it on the live because I'm not doing a reading on how far down that rabbit hole could go.
So she said she thinks so. That's what I'm assuming that she means. Like she wants to know what her main 3 are and then how she would know what her houses are outside of that. They're not based on months though. They're based on where the planets were in the sky at the exact time of your birth.
So for instance, I was born December 13th, 1982 at 6:38 p.m. near Cincinnati, Ohio. So I look at my chart and it gives me Cancer rising, which is my 1st house. And then my 2nd house is ruled by Leo and then Virgo and then so on and so forth. until we get to the 6th house, which is where my Sagittarius sun is and my Sagittarius moon is. And then we keep going up until we get back to Cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So
Now,
just because you don't go from Cancer sun and count 4 houses and that's what you are. It is literally an astrological point fixed on the sky of when the sun was coming up over the horizon at the exact time that you were born.
now, Ashley, if you wanted her to tell you quickly what your main 3 are, if you put in the comments, we know you were born June 23rd. We need to know the year. She needs to know like the city you were born in. And then she needs to know the time. She knows 2 a.m. So she's missing the year you were born and the city you were born in. If you want her to tell you right now, you can put those in the comments. While we're waiting on Ashley, Rachel did have another good question. She wanted to know, astrology-wise, what does 2026 have for most signs? We did briefly go over this for like 45 minutes earlier.
Yeah. So like, okay. So it's going to be the smackdown with Saturn and Aries. We have a lovely Venus retrograde coming. I think it's October 3rd to November 13th. Now listen, Venus in Libra is a beautiful energy because Venus comes home in Libra. However, Venus is also going to station retrograde in Libra. Everybody's relationships will be under fire. And then it's going to and people from the past and exes you can't let go, Venus is going to remove. It's going to be a fairly intense Venus retrograde, October 3rd to November 13th. We talked about the outer planets and the fuckery that they cause and inventing these new generations. We've had the retrogrades in Uranus and Neptune. Neptune moves back into Aries, where it will be until like 2039. What date was that? It's soon, like January 27th. Neptune moves back into Aries. And then Uranus moves back into Gemini, and then they're done. Like they're done with their hop, skipping, and jumping between signs. And now we're going to be developing new generations. And I think Uranus moves back into Gemini sometime in April. Toward the end of April. So from April on, we're like in that crisis mode where as we're falling apart, we're rebuilding. So that's what 2026 has to bring. The lunar nodes are going to be shifting. So we're going to have new eclipses in different zodiac signs. So the eclipses will feel earlier this year. Where like before they were like in April and March, and you're like, oh my God, a lunar eclipse in April? Yeah. We're shifting from the Pisces Virgo axis to the Leo Aquarius axis. Listen, the Leo is going to break down egos, and the Aquarius is just going to be like, you can't even feel some type of way about what happens because it'll be so random. You're just going to be like gobsmacked, like, I don't even know what just happened.
Gotcha.
Like, it'll be so random. You're like, I get it, but how? Why? Who thought that was a thing? So it's going to be definitely different.
Okay, Ashley did share all the rest of the information you needed. To get her main 3, so you can tell her a little bit about herself and what those main 3 come together to tell her.
I just need the year and the location.
1989, Harrisonburg, VA, which I think is Virginia.
Harrisonburg?
Yes.
Virginia. Cool.
I love when she makes that noise.
So yes, 4th house Cancer, making you an Aries rising with an Aquarius moon. Those are your big 3. Cancer sun, Aries rising, Aquarius moon. Those are your big 3. So everything starts with you in Aries. That is your 1st house. And then, yes, you are a 4th house Cancer. That's what I thought you meant, and that is what you are. Your Cancer, Sun, Chiron, and Venus are in Cancer in the 4th house.
So what do her main 3 mean about her personality?
Deep emotional ties, potentially chaotic dreaming. I don't know if this is accurate, but it gives me setup from prior generations to be taught that you nurture, you take care of. And that's a blessing and a wound where you put your care. Also, I'd immediately ask about mom and dad and mental health. And what was probably the most traumatic thing that happened over the past 2 years that reshaped the personality and bonds that need to be severed that have not yet?
She said 100,000% yes.
Okay. Okay. That's where I would start. That's where my eyes go.
Okay. So you'll know what to expect too, Ashley, going into this reading with Stephanie, whenever you book with her. What's your availability look like coming up?
So obviously with Christmas and New Year's, I do not have as many bookings open as I usually do.
Mm-hmm.
I think I may have Monday the 22nd open and Friday like 28th. No. Whatever the Friday after Christmas is.
Okay.
Open. Weekends are by request. If you only have time on the weekends, just message me, reach out to me. Weekend appointments on the website is because I do a lot of in-person events on the weekends. And like, this is when, you know, my child is home. And even though he knows how to stay in his own corner, I don't want to be like, you're on your own, microwave you some chicky nugs. Mommy has to work all Saturday. So appointments on Saturdays and Sundays are by appointment only. And I think I'm taking New Year's Eve and New Year's Day off, but that week should be fairly open. After that, it's pretty open. I have day and night appointments available. I think I go pretty late on Monday, Wednesday, Friday nights. And I think I cut off after 5 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But I can do 9 a.m., 10 a.m. And then if you have a request, like I really want to get this in before work, but it needs to be at 8 a.m., just let me know. We'll work with something.
Also, it's important to know Ashley is on CDT with me. Stephanie is Eastern Standard Time. So if you're booking 9 a.m. with her, you're booking 8 a.m. our time, Ashley.
Yes.
Or if you're booking 6 p.m. with her, you're booking 5 p.m. our time. She is an hour ahead of us. Anyone watching this, if you book with Stephanie, you're booking in her time in Eastern Standard Time.
I had a random question. Just generally speaking about zodiac signs, you know, like, okay, so for instance, you know how November Sagittarius and December Sagittarius are kind of very different but similar, and then you've got like male and female. How does that make sense in like a chart?
So something that we don't talk about because it's very, very technical is decans. Okay. So the way Hellenistic astrologers read a chart, every single house has exactly 30 degrees. Mm-hmm. Each one of those sections of 30 degrees has its own little pocket that has a ruling planet attached to it.
Okay.
So if you look at, like, let's just example, I don't even know if I'm right because I'm not looking at a chart. Let's say that your Aries sun was in March, right? So we're talking about late March Aries instead of April Aries.
Okay.
Your sun is going to fall within that first little pocket, let's say ruled by Venus. Okay. And then you can be a slightly less selfish Aries. You could be more calm, less fiery. You could be more diplomatic as opposed to like standing your ground because you have those first 5 degrees or whatever in that decan in Aries that has kind of that Venus, I won't say co-pilot, but like that whisper in your ear, like, excuse me, other people exist. Or like, hey, you don't look good when your face gets that red. Like So now we're like into those first degrees because we're at the end of the month. So it's a different expression, but there's a reason for an expression. It's in a different decan than say that you're that second week, April Aries, where it's Mars and you're red faced and yelling and you're super driven, but only for like a short period of time. So it depends on what the degree is, which is why those end of the month zodiac signs feel different than the rest of them, because they're starting in a whole different vibe than what we get to when we get further in the month and further into the degrees of the zodiac sign.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a co-pilot. It's backseat driving. That decan is backseat driving, that zodiac sign.
Makes sense.
Okay, anybody else who's watching right now and you want to know what your main three are, that's your sun, moon, and your rising, Stephanie will happily tell you the information she needs to pull your chart. She needs your birth date, your birth time, and the city you were born in, your location, okay? It's also important to know too, like your main three aren't everything that you should know about yourself. Like my main three, I'm a double Libra with an Aquarius moon. And while that stuff is so very important, you've heard me ask her time and time and time again, why am I a double Libra if I don't really vibe with like all the Libra qualities and traits? Because so much of my personal chart is Capricorn. I have an overabundance of Capricorn in my chart. I would not have known that about myself had I not booked to do an entire natal chart analysis with Stephanie.
And it is specifically because it is Capricorn energy. Capricorn energy is strong and prominent, but it's because you have the, so every zodiac sign operates differently because of element and modality. So you are a cardinal person because your cardinal rising with your Libra, your fourth house is, and so on and so forth. So if you were, let's say, a Virgo rising, that Capricorn energy would not be in a prominent chart in your or a prominent house in your chart, right? Mm-hmm. It's not in an angular chart, but because you're a Libra rising, it is in a prominent house in the fourth house. And then that is why it is also so strong. Not just that it's a cluster of planets in strong Capricorn. It is a cluster of planets in strong Capricorn in an angular house.
Gotcha.
So that it's one boost after another after another.
Yeah, most people who know even just a little bit about astrology, I'll give them like, yeah, I'm in a Sagittarius with Aquarius moon and Aquarius rising. They're like, damn, you're cold. And I'm like, I'm not though. I'm very emotional. Like I just contain it. I know how to.
It's mental compartmentalization.
Yeah.
Like you could schedule breakdowns. Other people can't help it. You could put this, like you could be filling out your planner and you can be like, okay, so on this day, I don't have time that day. I have to do this. I have to do this. Okay, I have to no. I got to go grocery shopping. So I have to like put on my best face and actually look like a human being to go, no, this day, sweatpants, stained shirt, crying. I'm scheduling my breakdown for this day. I
schedule it for my shower time.
Yeah.
When I take a shower and no one can see me, that's when I'll do it.
Just like, you know what? I'm going to let the dishwasher run, let the hot water heater heat back up, and then I'm going to have a 45-minute breakdown in this shower, and I'm going to do a deep conditioning mask while I'm at it. Not everybody can schedule their breakdowns. Just know that although to other people you appear cold, it is a superpower, but you cannot expect that out of everybody. Some people out here with like Cancer moons and Pisces moons just crying in the checkout line because, some kid grabbed their mom's hand and it reminded them that they have, anxiety toward public displays of affections. And will anybody else love them ever? And can they ever touch anybody and feel safe? And then Like not everybody can schedule shower breakdowns.
Movies or listen to music to address certain emotions and feelings I have because I'll box them up and put them away for later. And then I forget how to get in touch with it. And then I have to make myself.
Yes, because you got to get it out. But here's the thing too, like Sagittarius is so comfortable venting. As long as we can say it in words, we can get out the emotions later. Like
Yeah.
saying things verbally removes it a little bit. Like you get half emotion. So you let it out half in words, you have a good rant, and then later you feel the emotions through and you can kind of separate those two. Because Sagittarius is a very interesting energy because we are dual natured. We are human and we are beast, and we love that melding of like absolute animal instinct and absolute humanity. And we don't want one or the other. That's why we're the only zodiac sign represented by half man, half beast. Everything else is a person or an animal, not Sagittarius. It's like, I'll take both.
And we got a weapon.
Listen, we ain't the only one though. You have to look at it. They may not, that's concealed carry on some of those zodiac signs, right? Ours is out in the open, but some of these zodiac signs are out here conceal and carry.
So you made a mention about cardinal sign. What does that mean? What is a cardinal sign?
So it's the seasons. So cardinal signs, they all start their own seasons. So Aries is a cardinal sign. It starts spring. Libra is a cardinal sign. It starts fall. You know, the winter solstice, Capricorn season, day one, we start official winter, right? So they're good starters. They're good leaders. They're good step up and take notice. Fixed signs are stubborn. They get a hold of something, they stick with it. Taurus, fixed earth, literally immovable mountains. You have like Aquarius, fixed air. You can't get, once they have a thought process, you can't get them off those thought processes, no matter how hard you tried. And then you have the mutable signs, which are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces. We flow. We're good. We're with whatever. Like you want to be like, we'll start some stuff, or maybe we won't. Or we're like, we'll go with the flow, or maybe we're like, yeah, I don't care. I'm not involved in that project. And then we'll find a project that we're involved in and micromanage the hell out of it. Like, we're just go with the flow. It's a very dual natured mutable signs are, which is why Gemini, twins, Pisces, two fish. Like, we're very dual nature, but the most dual natured of the dual natured signs are Sagittarius. Because we're literally man and beast. And full of ADHD. It's a natural, it's a personality trait for us. It's honestly not even like a diagnosis.
Do you think that, is there any like zodiac signs in particular that do lean towards certain like the ADHD or autism and stuff like that? Like, are there ones that are more prominent?
Yes, absolutely. You're going to take your mutable signs, slap them with ADHD because of the flow. Some of them will be more ADD, more Virgo, more a little bit grounded. Some of them will absolutely express that hyperactive, like the Gemini, right? Where they're just talking all over the place. Geminis can be very physical in their like ADHD or their autism, where like their body speaks for itself. They don't even really need to say anything, and you're like, oh, ADHD. You could just see the movement from across the room and be like, wow, that is hyperactivity if I've ever seen it. A lot of Gemini women get misdiagnosed as just being chatty and like a chatterbox and never even get diagnosed with ADHD because of how quick they are to talk, to move. And then some, it depends on like the planet. Like if you're an Aquarius, right? Well, I'm not even going to say that because I'm going to out some people. But yes, there are zodiac signs and placements in specific houses, in specific zodiac signs that tell a certain story about a diagnosis or a personality type or things that are going to be ever present that they have to go through.
Gotcha.
I don't want to out people, and I don't want people to not book like, oh my gosh, he's going to already think that I'm this and I'm not, I swear. So I'm not going to out anybody. Just know that it is a thing. And if you're like, how'd you know that? Because sometimes things are just a thing.
Yeah. There's a lot of like pattern recognition with that too. And plus the amount of time you've been doing this. You've been doing this for years. It took you years to learn.
Listen, and I'm not done. I study something every day. I am not done. I will never be done looking this up and constantly hitting the refresh button. There are whole sections of astrology that I don't even use because of how much just the basics are a study. It is an everyday study.
Gotcha.
So I'm not even done.
Okay,
None
so
of us are.
to close this out, what advice would you give someone who is curious about their own zodiac? And then what advice would you give someone who wants to learn astrology?
More about the zodiac, research, or book an appointment with an astrologer. You would be surprised too, especially when you have an astrologer and you pick one, right? So if you want just timing and you just want to know when the best opportunities are, you want more of the pseudoscience, pick a pseudoscience involved. If you want something more spiritual, pick somebody that lists intuitive as well. Because you would be surprised how much more you can get out of a chart if you read it with your whole self and not just your eyes. Mm-hmm. There are very scientifically based astrologers that are going to give you very accurate information, very accurate dates. They're going to be spot on. And then there's intuitive readers, which are going to give you all of that stuff plus. So if you want to learn something beyond the textbooks, beyond the websites, beyond the blogs and the interpretations, book with an astrologer, especially one that says they're intuitively. They also read charts intuitively. And then what was the other part of that question?
Baby astrologers, people just coming into astrology. What advice would you give them as a beginner?
This isn't a weekend study. If you're going to really get into it, one, if this is going to be a hobby, don't have any other hobbies. Two, if this is something that you want to apply and do like a career, this will take up a ton of time. This will take up your Kindle, your laptop, your podcast listening. This will take up a lot of time. And it's not just about memorization either. You have to feel out the planets too to get really in there. You have to feel. You also have to be able to have the introspection to understand other people's charts. You have to start with your own. So you have to look at, if the textbook says that this person has this bad habit, well, you might want to like internalize and have some introspection on whether or not that's something for you. And how would you work on that so you can tell a client how they can work on that same similar placement? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of introspection and knowing of yourself, analyzing your chart before you analyze others. So that's if you're going to analyze other people's charts and do it as a career. If this is just something that you really want to get into so you can start analyzing your own charts, you have to understand that this takes up a lot of time. It is not just memorization. It is a study. Every one of the planets is out here talking to everybody. They have a relationship for an extended period of time, and then that relationship changes. And every 2 hours, those relationships change within yourself, within your chart for your transits. And every 2 days, the moon moves on to another somewhere in your chart with somebody else in control of the emotional patterns that are going on. And then you get to Mercury and then Mars and then Venus, and then it's just one interaction after another. It is a very long study. It is very gratifying. It's very amazing, but you have to understand that it is going to be time. This is not a weekend situation.
I have a quick question. What would you say to somebody who asked you how it makes sense that the planets and all the alignments make, you know what I mean, reflect who you are? Does that make sense?
Look at the moon. If you took the moon away, what would the earth look like? Look at the tides. Look at how every nurse in every ER freaks out every full moon because people are acting a fool. Look at where Luna and the word lunatic comes from. Literally, people will be acting up during full moons. That's where the term lunatic came from, was the sun, Luna.
Right. And that's how I explain it to people too, like how it affects the water, the tides, our emotions, even women going into labor.
In the waves, the energy waves, the solar flares, it's all energy that comes to, away from us, and all around us. From inside the earth, from us, from the planets, from the cosmos, it's all affecting the same thing. And if you want to picture it as like radio waves, why does your Wi-Fi work?
Yeah.
It's cordless. Why does your Wi-Fi work? It's the same thing with the planets. and the sun and the moon. Why is when we have solar flares, nobody's cell phones work properly? It's because it's energy. It can be explained scientifically and spiritually.
Right. And that's why I understood that, but I know a lot of people are very skeptical about that. And I look at things too from a very scientific way. And that's my rationalization for it as well. So I'm glad you explained that.
Yes. And I mean, if you're a skeptic and you just want to check it out, analyze your own chart. Get on the pattern and see what it has to say about you. And if any of it resonates with you, go with it.
Yeah.
And if not, you don't, and not everybody that's kind of cool if it worked, but I'm a skeptic, so I'm not going to get into it. Just be a skeptic and don't get into it. But if you're a skeptic and you're like, I need somebody to like, I know it's there. I need somebody to really, really prove to me. Book a reading. Pick an astrologer, book a reading.
So are there like warning signals out there for like who to be wary of if you're going to book an astrology reading? Like the no-nos for booking? Red flags. If you see this, don't book.
If you're like on a website, like, okay, let's say you're in a social media group. You're in, astrology babes or whatever. I don't know if it's an actual group on Facebook, but let's say you are. And somebody reaches out to you and says, hey, I saw you hanging out in so-and-so's live. I'm also an astrologer. I'd like to have a reading with you, blah, blah, blah. If somebody on social media reaches out to you saying that you need to book a reading with them because they felt something off of you, that's a scam. Real readers let you come to them. They want you to vibe them out. They want you to see your website and be like, I feel connected to this. I need this, bam. Only scam people or desperate people will reach out to you and offer you to book with them. And honestly, other than that, just trust your gut. Watch these people. If they don't have a ton of followers, they never do lives, they never post anything that resonates with you, it's for a reason. Look at their social media, look at their posts, look at their face in their pictures. If it's just all astrology stuff and you never even see their face in the pictures, is this legit? Like you have to, do the warning signs, because we're talking about social media and the internet and everybody's money. There are scammers out there. And then when picking one for you, you have to trust your gut. A lot of us, astrologers, are very patient. We just sit here waiting for people. We know there's a timing. People gonna come in when they come in. And we just sit here and we wait. And at some point, our Venus is going to be working to send our energy out to you. And you'll be like, I like this chick's face on Facebook. I'm booking. And that's it. Really trust your gut. And then if they reach out to you, do not book with them. As to whether or not a personal preference on what type of astrologer you want to get into. Do they feel really sciencey? Are they going to talk to you like you speak that language? Or are they going to break it down to you like you understand because their posts are something you can understand and resonate with? Anybody that you can book with will have their whole selves out there and their love of astrology online. Just look.
Also, word of mouth.
Yes.
Someone had an experience with you or someone else, and they're like, hey, I got a reading from this person.
Which, unfortunately, a lot of, I've had clients for years, never left a review. Love the shit out of me. Come to me all the time. Life is falling apart. We need to book. It's not a requirement. It's great if you do, but it's not a requirement. And some people don't like to put out there that they go see an astrologer because somebody might see it on there and be like, I don't know if this person is good for this management role. Or like, how are they going to operate if their astrologer tells them to do a certain thing? So some people keep that part of their lives private. So like, ask somebody. Just even post on our social, be like, anybody here actually gotten a reading with Stephanie before? What do you think about it? If I post something for like a market I'm doing, be like, hey, has anybody that goes to this market ever booked with Stephanie? Like, tell me about her. Mm-hmm. Anybody that would say, ooh, don't be asking about me, red flag.
Yeah, truly. I have that same thing too with like repeat people. It's a common thing where they're like, no, you're my safe space. You're my go-to. I don't want everybody having access to you. Because then what if I can't access you? Because you.
What if I need you and I can't book you?
Right. They're like, no, you're my home. I need to be able to go home. I need to go home.
Yes. Yeah, if nobody else has any other questions.
Yeah, I
could do this for several hours. So you guys have to come to me.
I'm the same, so.
Yeah. Okay, so since we're going to wrap this one up, next week we'll go ahead and tell you guys what that podcast will be like. That one's going to be wildly different than anything we've done before because next week we're doing a pre-recorded. That means it will not be live. You guys will still get the opportunity to go back and rewatch it. It'll still get posted at the exact same time we always post them, but it'll be Seven's birthday next weekend. Literally, they're 7 days apart, you guys. And she has really big plans for her birthday, so... And we all have things going on, especially with it being so close to Christmas. So we all opted to just take a day during that week, go ahead and record it, and then post it for you guys. The highlight of that podcast episode is going to be psychic mediumship. So whatever questions
Jordan gets the hot seat. We're going to grill her.
Yep. So that means text the phone number, comment on our pages, message our pages. Any of us, the three of us. If you don't want me to know what your questions are because you want to blindside me during the thing and it's not going to be live and you want to ask Stephanie or Seven to ask your question on your behalf, do that. If you want to text it to the phone number, do that. If you want to call and leave a voicemail on the phone number, do that, because that's how you guys will still be a part of that live. We're probably going to record that one Thursday of next week, so I will be making a ton of posts about it. Get your questions in if you want to be read during this, if you want this, if you want that, if you want to know how it works. All of your questions are relevant. They all matter. As you see, even during this one, we were throwing you guys' questions up on the screen as you were asking them. We love the interaction like that, and we love you guys getting to see us just be people. You know, even outside of like our professions and what we do, you're literally getting like front row seats to us, who we truly are. So know that one will be pre-recorded, but that there is still going to be so many opportunities for you guys to get readings during that one and for you guys to ask whatever questions you have about it. One of the most common questions I get for that is, what's a psychic? What's a medium? Are they same? Are they different? We'll go over that. I will explain that to everybody during that one. There'll be a lot of stuff that'll come up. It's definitely something that'll be worth you guys watching the replay for. So be on the lookout for that and a post about that. The following one from that, Seven's going to be in the hot seat.
Which I have a ton of questions for both of you.
Yes. And then
because you're in the metaphysical world doesn't mean that you know everything. And I know nothing about psychics and mediumship, and I have a ton of questions. And I've tried to study tarot. Oh my God. Even as an astrologer, and I understand what it means to study, the study behind tarot is equally as deep and crazy. And so I also have a ton of questions for
And I have a bunch of tips too. If you're trying to learn tarot or you want to learn tarot, I've got awesome tips to help you learn. So
yes, I need all of the tips because my ADHD brain sucks at hanging on to knowledge.
Yeah. So I'm excited. We're going to keep that last one for this month a surprise to all you guys. So you'll find out maybe the week before, maybe not. Maybe we'll wait and make you join us on that live to find out what it is. It's one you don't want to miss, though. I can tell you that for sure. The whole month of December is getting to know your hosts. And then we'll have more topics and new things following months. But yes, next week will be pre-recorded. So be on the lookout for those posts. All of us will be posting. We will all be sharing. You'll see the little videos, that little cartoon characters of us that we make and we post for you guys that can open up the conversation for you guys to ask questions to. And then I'll be posting what to expect for that episode this week. All right. Well, happy birthday again, Stephanie. Thank you so much for doing this with us.
Happy birthday.
I love it. I don't get to nerd out on astrology as much as I like to. So even though I'm excited about your guys' episodes too, just me being able to just open mouth astrology was super exciting for me.
Good.
I don't get to do it often.
And there's going to be so much more opportunity for all of us to showcase and all of us to shine too, you know? All the topics we talk about in the future, you'll see how all of our individual things come together and they all are similar, they're different, you know. This whole podcast is just, I'm so excited about the whole thing.
It's super fun because we're so different but also the same, but like one of us may be what you need right now.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the important thing. And you may not know what you need until you hear Jordan talk about her passion for her mediumship, or hear me talk about my passion for astrology, or hear, you know, Seven explain just how deep the cards go. Yeah,
truly. All right. Well, we're looking forward to interacting with you guys and seeing you on next week's podcast, and make sure you're watching out for those posts. Because like I said, we're going to be posting all week long, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.